everybody. We are out here getting ready to get started on this bright sunny Monday. Want to work on stickers and I want to work on ham and cheese sandwich, my buggy. So the buggy's actually more important, but stickers I would like to take to a car show this weekend. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I think there's just going to, you know, it's one of those things. It's an old rig. It's not in really great shape. As I open it up and whatnot, I have a feeling there's other things that are going to crop up. I just won't be able to get the parts to fix. Really, that's going to be the big one. Whether or not I can get the parts to fix anything that crops up to make it streetable. So that being said, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do an assessment on this. We'll get it up. I'll get the wheels off it, open up the brakes, because that's the biggest one, is getting the brakes done. I've got a radiator here to install, but that's pretty basic, you know. Pull the radiator, pull it back out, we'll refill it with fluid, call it good. Probably need to go get more radiator fluid because I don't have enough. I don't think I got enough for one. I don't have enough because I've also got to open up the radiator system on the buggy, and I don't have enough radiator fluid for both of them. All right, we'll figure that out. The starter and the radiator, easy enough to do on stickers. The two harder things are getting the brakes working, because there's a good chance that we're going to run into problems with lines, fittings breaking, that kind of thing. And I believe also exhaust. If I remember correctly, the exhaust on this thing is a disaster. So whether or not I can do anything with the exhaust is going to be a second question. Not that I can't fix it, but whether or not I can get the materials here to fix it, because everything else I've built is all big stuff, you know, 2.5, something like that. And I don't know that that's going to work for this little motor, just a little V6. But maybe we can do something crazy too. Maybe we'll just slap something in, throw a race muffler on, make it loud as heck. That would be fun. So let's get into it. I'm gonna put it up on jack stands, move some parts out of the way, some tools out of the way, and we'll start to delve into this thing and see what we can get into in terms of what we need for the brakes, whether or not we can get parts ordered and get them here in time. You know, maybe we just end up the late night thrash session on Friday or something like that, and we get it done and meander our way down there. It's only a couple of miles down to the car show, so it'll be fun. So let's give it a shot. All right, so I got drums off. It's been forever, so I probably haven't screwed around with drum brakes, well, other than the trailer. I guess I've screwed around with them on the trailer. I can't remember screwing around with them on a car. I don't remember the last time. But at any rate, I got the drums off. Wasn't too bad. BFH. Used some heat and some PB blaster. Got the bolts loose. This side's already done. I got it broke loose. So now I just got to go in here and undo all my springs and remove everything so that I can get to the wheel cylinders. I double checked, actually have the right size wheel cylinders, so we can at least get that part done. I got to do this side, the passenger side yet, and we'll work on getting it going. And then I remembered the steering. I don't know, don't think that's gonna cut it. So I do have material to sleeve this, I believe. I was looking around. I think I've got some that'll fit. It was a couple thousandths off, but having it tight wouldn't be a problem. So I could drill and sleeve it and plug weld it and end weld it and all that. I have another one as well though, and I think if I took off the tie rod ends, I could just use just the shaft or just the drag link itself and get it back together and make it safe. That's been fine for putzing around the neighborhood. Where I don't go over 10 miles an hour, but it's not going to work for running down the road. So that'd have to be addressed. And on top of all that, it looks like the group's not going to be able to make the event, so if I do go, it'll just be me. Not a big deal, but yeah. So that being said, I'm going to continue on. Let's see if we can't get these tore out and the new ones put back in. All right, update. So I didn't do a lot of filming today. A lot of repetition, going through doing the same thing over and over again. Then I had a couple of the owner of the Wangler came and dropped off the new power steering pump, and I was doing a couple other little things here and there. So got work done, but didn't do a lot of filming. But I'll bring you up to speed on where I'm at. Let me grab a flashlight. All right, so got all of the all of the wheel cylinders changed, except for that one in the driver rear. It was in good shape. It didn't need to be changed. I may change it anyways tomorrow. Who knows? I got distracted with something else. That something else is that I tried to get fluid back here to start bleeding the brakes. I wanted to verify that that one was working well. And so I pumped up the pedal and started going through the system. I couldn't get any fluids back here, so I started breaking lines loose. And what I got was, I had fluid at the master, and then you probably can't see it, but way down there is a distribution block. I broke that loose, a little heat, all that, got fluid there. Double checked, I traced the line all the way to the back, and nothing was kinked, all that good stuff. I broke it loose at the axle. I'll show you. I ended up taking it all apart. But at any rate, at the distribution block here, I broke it loose into this line and didn't get any fluid. So then I went and I blew from one side to the other, axle to axle, to see if I had fluid, and or passageway at least, you know, I blew air through it, and that did work. So then what I did is I tried to blow back through here to the distribution block up front, and I got nowhere. And I would guess that this line, these old lines, is not uncommon on these older vehicles to swell up on the inside and close this off. I'm not going to cut it right yet. I got to get it off of here. Of course, the one fitting that I got to get to is right there. You can probably just see it. And so I got to get to that fitting and get it broke loose. Ordering the line's easy enough. Getting that fitting broke loose is going to be a bear. But if we can get that broke loose, we can get that line replaced, then we can get fluid all the way to the back. The other ones are all getting fluid. We'll get the brakes bled out. I think we'll be in good shape brake-wise. All of the pads were good, or the shoes. Not really that concerned. I did not replace any of the springs or hardware. If I was planning on running these brakes for a long time and doing more than what I'm expecting to do, which is just drive this for a little bit before I really start tearing it down, then I would be replacing all of that. But there's no point in spending money on it just to then throw it all away. These axles really, maybe some purists want them, but for the most part, nobody really wants these. Everybody that's building a Jeepster for off-road is going to 1-tons or something bigger. And most everybody, if they've got a Jeepster, they have a good axle set. What I'm really trying to do is get it on the road, get a little bit of exposure on it for one, and then make sure that I've got the motor sorted out, that the motor's something that we're going to keep, or if we're going to change the motor. I've got an announcement coming up on this vehicle here in the next week or so, that's going to really change what we do. Well, actually, it's not going to really change what we do with it, but it's going to put a timeline to it. So at any rate, we'll get into that in a little more depth here real soon. But for now, that's what we've got done today. Tomorrow we're going to come out. We'll see if I get spunky. We'll finish replacing that last wheel cylinder. We're going to get on the power steering pump on this one, get it replaced, and then maybe do the radiator stuff on my buggy and this one. I know that now that the brakes are going to be okay, it's worth it to get the radiator and the starter done. I'll get that line ordered tonight. I should be able to have it by Wednesday, Thursday. So there's plenty of time to get it into the vehicle, because I'll work it this week on before the line gets here on getting that one broke free. So then all we got to do is put that line in, bleed them out. We'll have the brakes done, we'll have the radiator done, the starter done. And I got to check on brake lights. That was something I noticed. It doesn't seem to have brake lights. So if we can get brake lights, then I feel pretty good with going ahead and driving it up there Saturday. It would be also cool, I totally forgot about it, but Thanksgiving is turkey run down in Daytona. And while I may not be willing to drive the 80 miles to Daytona, I could sneak it on the trailer, drive down there, unload it, and then drive it. So that may be what we do. It would be cool to take this to Daytona and take it into the turkey run. Thinking about getting a sign and whatnot to try to get people a little exposure on. But at any rate, we will catch up with you in the morning. All right. We're out here, we're working. I got things started for the day. So when we left yesterday, stickers here needed a brake line. I did get that ordered. I got notice it shipped this morning, so I should have it by Friday. Hopefully, typically, maybe I get it early, who knows. But I think we're going to be able to get it running. But what I'm going to do is switch focus a little bit. We'll set this aside for a little bit later in the week, and I'm going to try to get, let me turn the right direction. We're going to try to get the black buggy, the steering done on it. I still don't have the master cylinder I need. We found it. I just got to get a hold of it. But what we're going to do, so here's the new steering pump, a little higher volume, etc. Got to get this pulley off, which it's going to require this puller, and then I got to get the right bolts. These are 1/4-20s. So got to get all this set up, got to get the right end to go in there so that I can pull this off, because the way that it mounts into the motor, I can't get to those bolts as much as I'd like to. Just won't fit in there. Ooh, I better measure that and see if it's going to work, period. It may not work. I've got to have that amount of space. Got to have that much room in between the pulley and that looks a little thin over here. That might be a problem. Of course, it may just be a matter of putting the other pulley on it too. So we've got from there to the end of the shaft is basically 3 inches. That other pulley would be nice because it's a little bit undersized compared to this one. It's a 1/2 inch, which would spin that a little quicker and give you a little more pressures and volume on the low end at idle. So at idle, when you're wanting to just make a turn without having to rev up the motor or something, especially since this is a 3-footed vehicle, it would be helpful. But I don't see that happening. But we do have the same distance. End of shaft to the face is still 3 inches. We're just gonna have to use this pulley on that rig. Not a big deal. Should be the same inner diameter. That would be the other question. Looks like that's a 5/8 shaft. And I believe this one's also a 5/8 shaft. Yeah. All right, so I got to pull both pulleys off. Once I get the pulleys off, then we can swap in this pump, put that pulley back on, flush the system. I got to build a bracket for this reservoir, and then we will be able to start it up. As far as lines and everything, Everything should work. The fitting we need for the return line's already here. The feed line's here. All the pressure lines remain the same. They just come off of this pump. That's all the same mounting locations. We got all the right fittings. So it should be pretty much bolt-in, other than the fabrication of a bracket for the PSC reservoir. I know I'm saying I got verbal static. The other thing I've been planning on working is trying to get a little more personality in here. So every once in a while, I'm going to try to get some in, like now. All right, there we go. So we're going to take a station break every once in a while, introduce a little personality, and then keep moving. But for now, I'm going to get started on all that. So we have the pump in. I got to get a cap put over the top of that so we don't drop any trash in it on accident. Now what I got to do is put the pulley back on. I was looking at it. I think I can use this pulley. What I'm going to have to do, though, if you look, I will have to not take that one flush. I'll have to get it, leave it sticking proud on the shaft, which shouldn't be a problem. I don't know, maybe I might not do that. I was thinking I could get away with it, but it's not a lot of engagement on the shaft. I don't know what the minimum needs to be. Typically it's all of it, right? So at any rate, I'm going to think on that. Maybe we use it, maybe we don't. But I'd have to leave quite a bit of it showing. It's a good 1/8 inch. 1/4 inch. That's the 1/4 inch difference. So maybe I'm back to not being able to use that. Yeah, I mean, out of 1 inch, we'd only have 3/4 of an inch on the shaft. I don't think that's enough. You know, these aren't under a terrible amount of stress, and this does have a bolt. This one does get a bolt in the end of it, but I don't know. I don't know that it's worth it. I don't know that we're going to gain enough not using this one. So I think I'll put this one back on it and we'll just run with it. And if he wants to take the risk or somebody else wants to do it later, they can. But for now, I'll put this on there and we'll get the belt back on it and then show you where I'm at. You know, I'd filmed some of this prep work, but with it being just me, it's really sometimes just a lot of me standing there looking at things, trying this, trying that, and I don't really end up doing anything but standing there. But what I got, so I got a couple of options. The requirements that I'm trying to meet, obviously the resi has to be above power steering pump down there. The other thing is the hose, the shorter the better, and the direct feed into the pump the better. Now I've got to account for the space that this fitting on the bottom takes up. You know, this fitting is that long, so I gotta have that much space on top of that before the next fitting, so the hose can't be too short. So I think about that height is what I'm looking at. That'll get me both where I need to be. Now I have two options up here. This has mounting provisions on the back side of it and the bottom. It's perfect for using some angle iron like this. Slide it underneath, holes in the back, holes in the bottom, weld it to the tube, and voila, we got a bracket. Round off corners, etc. Then you can also use this style bracket, which is a clamp. It has 2 holes in it, and mount it wherever you need to do. In this instance, I would have to use angle iron and do something like that. I don't like doing that though, because one, it's going to be this real obvious bracket just kind of ruining the line. The other side's not going to have one, It's going to be really odd. And then you're not going to be able to get to the bolts real easy, the bottom of the nuts. You're not going to be able to get to the nuts real easily because you'll have to go around the backside kind of blind. And that's no fun. So I'm going to go with the angle iron to the bottom directly off of the tube. That's going to be hidden and it's going to look a lot better. Going to seem more like the resi's just sitting there floating. It'll be plenty strong. All good things. The hose is going to line up. That's more important. The hose is going to line up and whatnot. So before I get started though, I'm going to remove this bottom fitting. I'm going to install it on the pump to make sure that I've got enough room in that hose to attach it and I'm not running into each other. Then I'll cut the angle iron, drill the holes probably 4 or 5 times, because knowing me, I won't get them straight, or I'll get them straight, but I'll get 3 out of 4. One of them's going to have to be filed. I never seem to get them all lined up. I don't have a good way to transfer them, is why. But at any rate, no big deal. Once that's done, then we can mount it up and everything should line right up. The return from the cooler will go right into the fitting for it. Feed will go directly into it. We can fill it with fluid. We can turn around and run the system. All right, I got 2 holes drilled that work. Now I got to drill the other 2. I'll mark them first. So the 2 end ones are in. Show you how I plan on making this work. So with those in there, I'm going to mark the bottom of this. The top doesn't really matter, it lines up. We'll take these out. Well, you guys probably can't see what I'm doing now. Take these out. I have trouble paying attention to what's the camera's looking at and looking at what I'm looking at. When I look through the camera, I don't do a good job seeing what I'm doing. All right, now we use the square. Oh, come on. Get the hose out of the way first. Eyeball the center. We'll mark it. And then I'll do the same up here. We'll eyeball the center. And this is why I'm going to miss. I'll do the same on the edge. Now, when I bolt this back up, I'll probably have to turn around and file all of these out, knowing my luck. But some days that's just the name of the game. All right, so we tighten these down. I know a gun would be quicker, but this is aluminum. I don't want to put any more stress on it than I have to. Impact gun can be a little much. All right. Part of my problem is I'm gonna leave this a little loose for now. I don't want to tighten it down so much if it's uneven or something and it pulls away, because I had to file off the back side of this to profile to the curve of that. See, I probably still need to take a little more off, but in a minute. All right, so then we can use the square, trace that up, eyeball it across with the center of the bolt. That should get me darn close. And then over here, and do the same thing. And then make sure this is pushed up. All right. Now I got 2 locations I can center punch, and we will see how close I come to making it. All right, let's find out how I did. So we know these 2 work, right? We already did these. So 1. 2. Uh-oh. 3. And nuh-uh. Oh, of course not. Is it we're gonna go? It is darn close. Well, that's 4. 4 holes that I managed to get lined up. Who would have thunk it? I wouldn't have. It's hard to do, at least for me. Okay, so I still need to do some profiling, I think, on the back side of that to get it to pull down a little better. Of course, that will change my whole location, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'm gonna have to enlarge, I think, these 2 upper holes. I'll just drill them bigger rather than try to file them. Because the problem is that if you look at it this way, I don't know if you guys can see that, but that needs to really be pulled flat. And when I do that, these holes are gonna go up. All right, well, I'll drill those bigger. We'll just go up a couple of sizes on the drill bit, and then that should make it all work out just fine. I'll bring you back when we get this all welded in and plumbed up. How you win some, you lose some. I got the steering in. Came up, bracket worked out well. Everything's lined up. Got a really short hose. Might actually need to make it a little bit longer. I'm a little concerned there's not going to be enough movement in it if the engine torques around a little bit. The problem is, I don't know if you guys can see it. It acts like there's not a seal between the pump and the can. It's just leaking like a sieve all the way from up top, and I guarantee you as that thing loses fluid, it'll just drain all the way down. Alright, quick run to the parts store, swap the fittings around, and she works. The issue with the pump was my fault. I ran out of talent and caused my own problems. I'd made the line too short, the feed line. It was pulling on the can enough that it was distorting it. As soon as I released the tension on it, the can went back to shape. So I went and I've got the feed line looped around. I don't like it as much, but it is what it is. You know, there's only so much space to put all this and still try to do everything I'm trying to do. So that works. It's feeding. It shouldn't have any issues. And it was a good day. End on a good note. I like that. Now I got to go to my boys' football game. They went undefeated this year, so this is their first playoff game. So I got to run and watch that. If they make this, then they got what is it? This will be quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. We'll see. So, all right, signing out. Morning, everyone. Once again, we are back out in the shop. Yesterday we finished up by getting this one steering. So it's a runner and a driver. Still need to finish up the brakes. I need to get the master for it. I think I mentioned that. Otherwise, well, the clutch is still slipping, so I need to get that adjusted. We need to do a little bit of tuning on it, make sure that it's ready for going out and doing a little bit of wheeling. So don't think I'm going to do that this week. Right now I'm going to wait until I get the master, and then we'll put in another little bit of time on that and get it finished up and let the owner take it and shake it out. So gonna get this one running. Well, it runs. I'm gonna get the radiator replaced and the starter replacing it today. See about getting that line in the back busted loose and get this one ready. I need to get it out to a couple of car shows so that we can do a little bit of promotion for this surprise I got coming up. We're going to be posting up. I'm trying to finalize my plans before I make the announcement on what exactly I'm going to build. But I had originally thought it was going to involve stickers here, and now I don't believe it's going to. I looked at the rules a little bit closer, and stickers is just too close to, well, it is a running and driving vehicle. Even though it's not in the final configuration I want, it's too far along for what I'm going to get involved in. So we'll get the radiator broke out of this real quick. That shouldn't take very long. Only a couple of connections, get the fluids drained out of it. The other radiator sitting over there in the box, we'll throw it in. And then the starter itself also shouldn't take that long. So we'll get started on it. And then from there, I actually think it's out of fuel, so it wouldn't start. But we can crank on a little bit. I don't want to mess with it too much while it's on jack stands. And then we'll work on getting the rest of that brake stuff in the back done. That line should be here tomorrow, hopefully. And so then maybe we can get this thing pulled out and get a little bit of driving done. All right, so we've been busy making a mess. And I mean making a mess. One, when I disconnected the hosing for the radiator to drain it, I initially missed my tub. And then when I put radiator fluid in it, the drain was open on the radiator, the new one. I thought I had it closed, but I had it open, so it started pouring out there. At any rate, got it all fixed. I'll have to clean up the mess here at some point. For now, I've got the radiator in, all connected. That was pretty simple. This just has 2 bolts on each side. This one's direct fit. I don't have a shroud for it, but that would be what those are for. And then we have the hoses. I had to replace this one. Luckily I had one sitting on the shelf. So that's in. The upper one just bolted right up. No problem. I've actually got fluid in it. So we'll need to start it here at some point, run it, and get things opened up and make sure that we don't have any leaks. I've got the new starter in. It's in there. Just a couple of bolts, 2 bolts to put it in and out. And I'm now putting on the wiring. But the problem with the wiring is, we're pretty well burnt up. So I'm going to replace this wire or make a new one. Haven't decided which. I could probably just make a new one and put a new end on it. We'll see. We'll see what I have available. But I'm getting ready to take it apart and see what we got to do. I guess I'll go over to the bin, look for a new one, and then go from there. All right. Some days it just seems to take forever to get anything done. So, as I mentioned before, we got the starter in. Was going through some wiring issues. Radiator's in. I've been chasing wiring for hours now, it seems like. Not really sure. One is my mistake. I cut a wire out that was under there that I thought went to the radio. And apparently it jumped between the starter switch and this other switch. And it shouldn't have come out. At any rate, so I got past that. But the starter switch itself that's here is not working right. So I'm going to remove it. I went and pulled the other one from the other rig I got. And hopefully it'll work. This one's got issues, So I'm gonna pull it out, but I gotta switch the tumbler because I don't have a key for the other one. So I've already got the other tumbler out. I'm gonna take this one out and we'll show you how we do that. Here's the key. So you remove the key, and then on these, you reach back in here, you push forward, up against the spring. There's a little spring on there. Turn that way, and the whole ignition thing comes out. And then you can just undo all the wiring. All right, so now that I got it out, let's take you over to the workbench. We'll remove the tumbler. Put it in the other one and see how that works. So to remove the tumbler, first you remove the spring. There is that little slot right there. See it? Just real small. Take a real small out awl or punch, and if you press on this, I won't be able to show it to you, it's too small, but inside there's a tumbler or a little spring. There it is. And if you push that spring down, then you can pull the whole tumbler out. I may have to put it in the vise. That's what I did on the last one. In the vise we go. Just like that, it pops out. So I need this one. Make sure I put the right spot, right things back in place. So that little piece right there is what we were pressing on in the inside. See that little gold piece or copper piece, brass, whatever you want to call it. So now that should just, so we'll press this down to fit it back in. My luck, I just put it in 180 degrees out, and now I won't be able to get it out. All right, there we go. Start, off, accessory. So it should work, hopefully. Yep, all the little, everything's in where I'm supposed to see it. All right, let's go try it. Put this back in, see if we get any better action out of it. All right, let's see, battery should be this one, and battery is that one. And then that means that this one goes up here where it was before. And this main one goes right in the center, assuming that I don't have wires. Now, do we have anything, or are we just out of luck? Ow. It must be in the wiring itself, but I'm not getting good contact to the wire that goes to the starter. Sometimes it'll do it, sometimes it won't. Got it figured out. Of course, it was my fault. There was a broken wire down on the starter when I've replaced it, and I put the wrong end on it, put it on the wrong bolt. So got that swapped around after tracing everything down. Headlights work again, so that's a plus. We got headlights, got some marker lights. See if we got tail lights. We got one tail light. The other one's probably a bulb. So we got some things to check. Can't tell, kind of looks like the amp light might still be on. I got blinkers, not all my blinker lights, but got to turn some fans on here for a minute. And let it run. It's kind of smoky. There's brake fluid on the exhaust. It's got to burn off. And I'm gonna have to work on the exhaust. We got to cut some out, try to weld some in. But we're on track. We're back on track for getting things done on this Friday. Well, close. Hopefully I can get back in here Friday. Tomorrow I got to go out of town and see about getting the start of another project. So it's gonna sign off for now for this week. Maybe get back in here, we'll see. But been a good week. We got the brakes started, almost finished. Hopefully if that part comes in, I can get some late nights in here. If I can come back into town on Friday, we can get this finished up, take it to the car show on Saturday. If not, we'll do it for a following one. That's just the way it goes sometimes. There's a lot to do on that rig to get it half reliable. And then so we got the radiator replaced, we got the starter replaced, got it running. We got the power pump replaced on the black one. It's steering. So it's been a good week. And some exciting news. I'm gonna go see about getting the start of this other project. It's gonna be really exciting. I'm really excited, but it's gonna be a little bit before I show you guys. So with that, until the next time, like and subscribe if you can. I know it's a pain, but it really helps the channel out, and I could use all the help I can get right now. Have a good one. We'll see you later.